Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with a treat today, something I really have enjoyed, and it's got to do with the Cathedral windows. I'm going to show you the materials you need and so the steps to begin doing this, and it's the Cathedral windows. One of my very first videos was doing the Cathedral window about 6 years ago, and since then, I had not seen another example of a way to do it until this last year, and all of a sudden I've found 2 ways to do it. So this is number 3, the third variation that I found, and this is video 203. Then I want to share some of my addresses. One of them is for the YouTube, that if you want to find all the videos together, that's what the first one is. And then the second one is some of the things that I finish end up on Etsy. I've got a little store there, and that's my commercial. And here's an example of the first one that I'm working on, trying this out. And I really have liked it. And you can see there, if you look, you can see the squares, you can see the center blocks. But as we go, you'll start to see some differences between the one that I did and the one, if you watched number 2 recently. And now we're on to number 3, similarities and differences. The first thing that you're going to need are going to be pieces of muslin cut into squares. And this one is going to start, this is one of the differences, going to start with 10-inch muslin squares. And muslin we use because it has more stretch to it, and it makes it so easy to work with making these little pockets and pieces for this quilt as we go. And it does take a lot of them, but when you get done, there's no batting. There's no backing. The quilt is done. So that's the first thing. Second thing is going to be the squares that go in the windows. And usually they're 2-inch. But these are 2 3/4 inch of a printed or solid material. You can see I've already put some out there, but it's very much like doing the yo-yos. You can put all kinds of colors together, and it is going to look so neat. But also what you can do, the second thing when you're making those squares, is I like to stick some fussy cuts in that are special. And to do that, I just go ahead and make myself a template that I can see through. So when I lay this on the material I'm looking at, I can see whether I've got the fabric centered. And like this one, I wanted the butterfly. So when I laid the material out, I laid this down just like I wanted it. And I could turn it over on the back and see where the butterfly was. And then I just use either a mechanical pencil or a permanent Sharpie. There are some permanent Sharpies. And then like this was a lot of colored fabric, and I just wanted that. Well, then I had one piece that had sayings in it, and so I laid it down so that I could see that they were straight. But these were like, dream big, forgive, practice daily, and heart be your quick. Well, the first part wasn't in there, but then it's got express yourself, speak the truth, etc. And I thought that might be fun to have that appear in the quilt 1 or 2 places. So that's the second thing. It's 2 3/4 inch printed or solid fabrics. All right, and that's it. Then you need a sharp needle. You need some thread, and I usually go with a color that is going to match the muslin. And muslin tends to be that creamy or brownish look that you can use. All right, so here we're going to start. We're going to take one square, one of those 10-inch squares, and you're going to fold it in half. And then I did this one on the sewing machine so it would show up well. This is a hand stitch project. it works very well. You can also do parts of it with the machine, all the basic part, till you get ready to sew in your colored part. But that also you can work at turning under and doing on the machine. But I love this because it's the muslin and it's so easy to do by hand. It suggests a 1/8 inch seam on both sides. Okay, once you get that, you're going to leave it just like it was folded, but now fold it the other way. And I tend to let one seam go one way and one seam go the other, and then pull it apart. And then you want to pin it, whether you do it in the machine or by hand. Now, you're not going to go all the way across because we want to be able to turn this right side out. So I must have turned it or marked it on the wrong side, but I left a nice space. But you're not going to have to sew this space up with this program, with the way this goes. But leave enough room, stitch all the way over and stop, start over, and then stitch all the rest of the way across there. You'd be stitching both layers together just because you open it up. And like I said, lay those two seams together now. And then you're going to stitch and stop, start stitching, and then go all the way across and stop. And there again, it's 1/8 of an inch. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to turn that shape that you just did right side out. All right, and so here's the one that I've done, and don't press anything. That's the other nice thing about working with this. It tends to hold a finger press, and it seems like once you press it, it really sets in. So just keep going by using the finger press with your fingers, and then like that where your opening was, you can just sort of close that, but you're not going to have to sew it. All right, then that gets us to the next part. All right, and that's very similar that far as with variation 2 that I did earlier this year. So now what you want to do is just lay it down and take any point. And if you look, you want to make your points nice. And you stick a pencil in there. Be careful with scissors that you've got really a blunt end because it'll go right through it, and you don't want that to happen. All right, and I'm going to take this point at the top, and I'm going to fold it down to the center. And I'm going to finger press that top. Okay, this is where the changes come from the other one. All right, now I've been putting it together because I wanted to see how it was going to work. And then I started putting another row on it too to see how it was going to work. So what I want to do right now is put this on, and I'm just going to add it to the end. And I'm going to take, here's one of the ones that I did, and I have it where I can see where the line is. I'm going to take and line this up with that, just like that. Pin it. I found out it really helps to pin it. And what we want to do is do a row of stitching all the way from this side over to this side, and make sure that you knot on your machine or by hand both ends of that so they'll stay nice and strong. And then stitch across. And I did most of it. I did with a double thread. I doubled my thread and then knotted it. So I'm going to go and show you what happens, because here's one that was already done. And if I fold it up, you can see this is one I did on the sewing machine because I wanted to move along with this a little quicker. And so then I just fold both of them open, and we're ready to go on with the next part, which is going to be the colored square. See, this goes pretty fast, probably cutting out the muslin and the print, then just finding out, sitting down and working on it. Now, I will tell you that getting the points down here together takes practice. It doesn't matter which way you're doing it. If you're doing a variation 1, 2, or 3, it's always right there that's going to be important to work on. So what I'm going to do is let's take that butterfly, and I'm going to set him in there the way I want him, and it's not really going to matter. And I'm going to pin him. And you'll find that you'd move your pin periodically as you're going. The suggestion from the magazine, forgot to tell you the source. It's going to be in the description. Here it is. It's The Love of Quilting. This is current too. And it's May, June 2023, and it's page 58. It's only about 2 pages. But where I was going with that was, she suggested that when you get to those points that we were just looking at, like this one and this one, that you're going to take and make 5 tiny stitches to connect that. And I didn't always get 5, but this was the first one that I did. And it was okay. And then when I got to the second one, it's like muscle memory. And once you start doing it, if you've done them before, then it falls into place. And so I can't decide whether to start in the middle of the arch or to start on one of those ends. And lots of times I do start in one of the points. But for right now, I think I'll just start. And I'm going to fold this in. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, now we're ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point and I'm going to connect it to the next one, which is in the row going up or down, whichever way you're doing it. So I'm going to come over there. I've got double thread. I got a nice knot in the back. And I'm going to do this twice because it's going to take some pressure when you start doing the folds. That's what I had to stop and look at for a minute and get him out of the way. And see, I messed myself up by putting this other one on right now. And what I would have done is made my row however long I wanted it, and then come in and put these in and added the next ones on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to... This one's a little bigger up here. That's all right. And I'm going to fold this one down. And I think that's laying so nice. And then finger press it. And finger press the other edge. And you sort of play with it till you get it where you want it. And then I'm going to be ready to start. And I think I'm going to just make 1 stitch high up on that to hold that in place. And then I'll get it when I come all the way back around. Okay. Pick it up, put my hand under it. And this one says to go down and go through all the layers and come up on the back. Well, you can, but it's really thick and you're going to do a lot of stitching on here, and it's going to hold it. So I'm going to go down and go through there. This one's really thick for some reason, and I'm going to come back up inside. And the reason I'm doing it with white is because the other time I did a sample for you with the black thread, and then I really wanted to finish that pillow, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to tear out all of that. All right. I'm going to start at the top, go down as far as I want to, make a little stitch to catch, and then come back up. And I'm going to do that. This keeps getting caught. all the way across. And I'm going to work on that for a minute, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got myself all the way over there. It looks pretty good. And then I can do one of two ways. I can either slide in and go all the way down and turn it and come back, or I can go ahead and I can turn the next one over till I sort of like the way it's going to go. And I'm going to have to, didn't join this one yet, and that's why it's giving me a little bit of a fit right then. And that's something that I've just learned. So I think I'll come up here, and I'm going to go back. That was working pretty good. And I've got a nice point, and I'm going to make 4 or 5 nice little stitches in there. That's not working too bad. Oh yeah. All right, then the next one, to make it work, I have to go back down here and hook these two together to get my arch to go like right. I've got to, like we did at the very beginning when I connected the 2 blocks to each other, then I'll just be able to stitch back that way and get it. And then you can just knot off and try and run your knots inside, because once you get finished, you know, there's not going to be any backing. And you're just going to, this is one where I had it too tight at the beginning, so it's sort of gathered. But the rest of it, and you can see where I did try to go all the way through all of the layers there. But you don't want your knots to show up here on the back, because there is not going to be any backing on it. And I've got some more to do. I've started adding the next row, and that was not hard at all, because you just come down to where you have your 2. There's my 2 pieces. That's my new one, and that was the old one. All right, the next one would come down here to this one, which would be my new one, and I'll add the next one onto the back of that once. But I do my rows first, decide how long you want to make it. Or if you're doing a sample one, you know, just do your row, then come back on your next row. Now, the one thing I haven't figured out yet is exactly how this is going to look when we come back, because we're going to have a half block over here that doesn't have anything in it, a triangle. And it might be that that is just going to be perfect anyway, that you're going to have that and have the hole, but then it should make a straight edge around there that you don't have to do anything with, like you do with hexagons and things. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. This is really fun because it's larger. The 10-inch square is fun. The bigger pieces in the middle are fun, and it'll go farther. And I did see that here's an example of how much it would take to do a double bed, and it would take 342 muslin squares. And then it would take 342 small squares to fill in the center. So when you start, it's one thing about it, you can find variations in the muslin. So if you take and start and do a practice piece to see that you like it and to get your muscle memory going, then you'll be ready to decide what size the next part's going to be. And it's a fun project. It's like the cathedral window I did at the very beginning that was for a king-size bed. And my mother-in-law and I did it together. So that made it go really fast. Thank you for watching. If I have anything that I've forgotten, I'll write it in the description. Remember to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And have a great day. Thank you. Okay.